on a soul level, I slept better that night thinking, you don't have to go slower. You don't have to play smaller. You can do more because there's other people out there in the world doing it like that. And it was just it was just really impactful for me to not stress about how am I going to reinvent my workshops to be less, to be less value, less information. I didn't want to do it, but I was looking for that confirmation.
How are entrepreneurs like us daring bravely to build a stage, ditch the sweatpants, and step up to the mic? How do we create our own transformative events so we can get our message out into the world in a bigger way that's not only profitable, but it's actually something we can be proud of? That's the question. And the answers are inside this podcast. My name is Sarah Pfeiffer. Welcome to Green Room Central. Today, I've brought into Green Room Central Studios Suzanne Taylor King. In the exciting world of entrepreneurship, she has paved the path with dedication and innovation. Her 35-year journey is like a roller coaster of highs and lows. Aren't all of ours? Oh my goodness. Learning lessons and having adventures in nurturing a 6-figure business and masterfully navigating multiple 7-figure exits. You see, she's not just a business coach. She's a seasoned veteran of success and failure. I love it. Suzanne, welcome to Green Room Central Studios. Say hello to Lynchpin Nation.
Hello, nation. What's going on, Sarah? Thanks for having me.
I'm thrilled that we got to connect and have this conversation today. The moment we met, I was like, oh my goodness, I love this woman. You have like a sparkle in your eye and you're like a huge smile and a huge heart. And I can tell that you're in the entrepreneurial space to make a huge impact and a difference. And I feel so similar in that respect. The premise of Green Room Central podcast is all about how the belief that being in the room is everything. And I wanted to start by, well, first, I think listeners know I was in a room once that changed the entire course of my life. I got into a personal development room and 4-day conference and came out, and within 11 months had left a 16-year corporate career, had paid off all the debt I'd been under for a decade and a half, had moved my family across the country, had started a business. It's amazing what being in the room can do for a person. And I wonder, is there a room that you can remember that changed the course of your life?
Oh my gosh, there's
really?
so many.
Oh, this is
so
gonna be
fun. And one just happened last week, and I'll share that. But the major one was my best friend from high school, her wedding, and we're going back 25 years ago. I was married at the time in a very dysfunctional relationship, but had a massively successful business.
Wow. Okay.
Wait, we might be going back longer than that. I like to forget how old I am sometimes. But so the day of her wedding, I was maid of honor, and I had this moment where I walked into the reception. There was my parents and, just a beautiful venue. And I thought to myself, what am I doing in this dysfunctional relationship, all because I have a business that's making $5 million a year? And I don't know what caused that just realization that I was not happy. If that wedding was happiness, I'm not it, because I'm in this dysfunctional relationship, but yet I have all this money. And I mean money in excess to the point of parties and travel and buying myself a car and cash and, extravagance. And it wasn't what I
Mm.
wanted. And that was huge for me because I had worked for that for the past 4 or 5 years prior. And it was a point in my life at about 26 years old that I really figured out what was important to me, and it wasn't that. And I made the decision at that wedding to go home and leave my relationship, which meant leaving the business and leaving that huge income, going back to my career as a dental hygienist, and I could easily support myself
Mhm.
with that career, but I lost my car. I had to get a new car that I could afford to pay for, and, like, it was just this pivotal decision for me that made me a
Mm.
better person, one, but it also made me realize so much about being an entrepreneur and these goals that we have of income and profit and all of those things really weren't what was bringing me satisfaction. And what was bringing me happiness at that time was this community I had built around taking people on exclusive uh, travel snowboarding experiences all around the world. I would take 10 people on a trip and I would guide them. And that was making me happy. Wasn't making me much money, but it was getting me free trips and it was bringing this level of satisfaction that I wanted to experience as a human. And I knew moving forward, if I ever created another business, that it had to have those
Were
qualities
you
for
doing
me.
those snowboarding trips while you were still married and in the successful business? Yeah.
Yes.
So is
Yeah.
that so
Yeah.
something about the wedding and being in this, like, cocoon of love and happiness and joy was,
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
shone a light on, "Well, wait, I'm not happy," and this
Yeah.
juxtaposition that I thought money was happiness, but wait, it must not be
Mhm.
for me, and did it take you a while after that to realize what piece or pieces of your life you were happy and content with, or did you know in that moment?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did not know in that moment until I actually made the decision, going home from the wedding and putting the ball in roll, right? I started the process of
Mm,
breaking up my marriage, getting
yeah.
divorced, and so many things. But I started right away. I mean, it was immediate decision. I would say within about 5 years, I realized what parts of that made me happy, looked at it as a gift, starting over as a gift, and I'm a big believer in finding the gold when
Mm,
you screw up or make a mistake. Sometimes it just takes a little
yeah.
longer for you to actually find that gold. Um, and about 5 years after, I started another business with a partner, and it it just took off immediately, and I thought, "Yeah, this is the part I like." The starting, the growing, the ideas, the doing something innovative in a space, and what I didn't realize then that I know now is that I could have a career where I spend my time in the ideas,
Mm,
in the innovation, in the overhead view, but not in the minutia of
yes.
running a business. Fabulous.
We're so dissimilar in that I am madly in love with the details and the minutia of systems and, like,
No.
how are things gonna run efficiently and smoothly and, like,
Mhm.
for, like, long-term vision, like, how are we gonna optimize this?
Yeah.
And And what I've realized about myself recently is the getting started is so hard for me. That's a big challenge. But then once I'm in it,
Mm,
then I'm like super zoomed in. So funny. So you're telling me that you took immediate action after being in that room, but then like the
yes.
lessons kind of it took about 5 years to tease all of those out and come up with the
Mhm.
next business idea. And I'm wondering because I mean you had to have been fairly young when all of this was going down. Had
Yeah, I was 20,
Wow.
26.
Were you were you in the personal development world yet? Had you met personal development? Okay.
No, no,
Okay.
no. It wasn't until after that, in a really low point of, being
Mhm.
alone, not having a lot of money, and I had been very recently used to having a
Yes.
lot, um, that I had this moment that I was feeling kind of low and kind of down, and I wanted to go visit my parents in Florida, and at the time, airline tickets were like $1,200 to fly to Florida, and I was like, "Crap, can't even afford that.
Right.
What did I do?" Like, I was contemplating if it was a
Mhm.
mistake or not, what I
Mm.
did, and it was then that I found and I can't remember how I found it, but it was a landmark weekend, and it was a weekend in Philadelphia with and I don't even know what they call their weekend. And I went and I thought, "Oh, I I haven't explored this space of really knowing myself on a
Mhm.
deeper level." And there was a couple books that came after that, and then one of my patients, when I
Yep.
was a hygienist, offered me a mastermind group. "Hey, you like to read, you're into personal growth." And I was like, "I am? Okay." And he invited me to this group that met twice a month on a Monday morning before work for coffee. And I said, "What time are we talking?" And he said, 7 in the morning. And I was like, "Ugh, sounds horrible." Now I would love it, because I'm an early bird now. But then I was like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
sounds awful." But that's when the first book we read was Think and Grow
Mhm.
Rich,
Classic.
and the second one was How to Win Friends and Influence
Mhm.
People, and it was like I had found
Mm.
my home, obviously. I love to read now, can't get
Same.
enough of reading business books, personal development books, um, high performance habit
Yes.
stuff, um, and I feel like that room really kicked things off for
What
me.
was it about that room?
Mm, that I almost said
Mm.
no, that I was the only woman, it was 4 men, and they were much older than me. So I felt immediately like I had mentors. Immediately, I had a couple business people who were in that entrepreneurial-ish space and just thought I had the most amazing ideas for their
Mm.
business. And it was this reassurance along with the personal growth of having a mentor or 2. And
Was it the reassurance of that you had value in the business space?
mhm, mhm,
Do you feel like you
yeah,
lost that when you went back to dental hygiene?
absolutely. Absolutely. I felt like, kinda like a sports player when they leave their sport, at a really high level, you feel like you're out
Mm.
of practice. You feel like you're out of the routine of it. And I just thought I think it gave me hope that I could have another business or I could do something impactful as a solopreneur in a whole different way as I started to read and learn and actually have people to talk to
Was it
about it.
reassurance that perhaps the business that you was it a business you had started with your husband that you had left? You had that it wasn't a
Yeah.
one-hit wonder, that you did have play a major role in
Yes.
that success that mm,
Yeah.
wow, that's an important room right there.
It is. And I will say the room that I was in
Mhm.
last week, so I've been told, I don't know how many times to slow down, to deliver less content when I teach my workshops or my coaching programs. Less, less, less. You're too fast. It's too much. So many
Mm.
times. And I'll give this example. 2 weeks ago, I had a workshop. I had 40 people there, and everyone said it was too much except for four. So four people loved it. And they were like, oh, yeah, more of that, please. And the other people were like, oh, deer in the headlights. Oh my God, never experienced Suzanne before. That was crazy. That was too much. I got lost after 15 minutes. And going to a workshop last week of someone else's who is just like me, fire hose, so much
Yes.
value. I took 4 pages of notes in an hour and I loved it. I love the fact that I was trying to keep up
Mm.
with the
Mm.
workshop. And I got this overall confirmation that that's the room I need to be
Mm.
in, and I need to keep delivering just like that.
Mm.
And it was so on a soul level, I slept better that night thinking, you don't have to go slower. You don't have to play smaller. You can do more because there's other people out there in the world doing it like that. And it was just so, it was just really impactful for me to not stress about how am I going to reinvent my workshops to be less, to be less value, less information. I didn't want to do it, but I was looking for that confirmation.
There's a comedian I love to follow on Instagram. Her name is Elise
Mhm.
Myers. And
Oh,
have you seen her
yeah.
content? Okay. So she
Mhm.
has some merch, and one of them is, "If I'm
Mhm.
too much, go find less."
Love it.
And I feel
Love
like that's the permission you were looking for and that you got in this room
Yeah.
last week, that
Mhm.
it's okay to be who you are. I It's
Yeah.
interesting. I I always say that to students that there's a person for everyone. Like, there's a mentor for everyone. A mentor who
Yes.
teaches the way that you learn and who speaks the way that you hear. And I've had so
Yes.
many scenarios where I have written stuff down, learned stuff, gotten information in some way, whether it's a book or in an event or
Yeah.
podcast, whatever, and multiple times over the span of years. And then it takes one person saying it slightly different,
Yeah.
and it suddenly
Yeah.
lands, and I'm like, oh, that's what that person and that person and that person and that person were trying to tell me. And I'm so
Yes.
grateful that they exist in the world and are like shining their light, working on making an impact, because otherwise I wouldn't have learned that lesson. And
Yeah.
so I think it's so important that, yeah, we stay true to who we are, because that's somebody for so many people. And it sounds like in that room
Mhm.
that you hosted recently, that the what is the quick math? Is that like the 10% in the room that were like your
Mhm.
pure magic? that
10%.
you're my
Yeah,
those are your people, right? And it's just like you need more
yeah,
rooms with more of those people in them, right? And it does it.
yeah. But I think the key to that is the workshop I went to that of somebody I
Mhm.
respect, like, to the utmost level, right? I
Yeah.
love this guy, and I go to his workshop, and of course, he's got 100 of
Mhm.
those people in the roo because he's standing in the fact of
Yes.
being like that. He's saying, "Look, if you want fluff,
Right.
I'm not your guy.
Yes.
Better leave." So, it was almost like this moment of, "Oh, Suzanne, just give yourself permission to
Mm.
say that." And, it's that whole thing, repel the people who aren't your ideal client immediately so they don't spend time hanging
100%.
out with you, which it's better.
It's
It makes
yeah.
sense. Look at where
Right.
we met. You and I met in someone
Mhm.
else's
Yeah, in someone else's room.
program,
We met.
and I
I
I
will
don't
tell you that
know,
I'm in that person's
the
program now, and it is a fire hose.
awesome.
It's a fire
I
hose, and
love that,
I'm at this
and, like
place where I'm like,
mm,
"Oh my gosh, I haven't been in a fire hose
mhm,
room like this before because this is so fire hose." And I'm like, "I'm good. I'm
mhm.
really good." And this is pushing me to do more and
That's
go
so
higher
good.
and be better, and I'm, like, very
That's good.
uncomfortable, and it's making me wonder, like, did I put myself in the right room? But every time I ask myself that question, I'm like, "Yeah, you did." Like,
Mhm.
you actually really
Yeah,
enjoy
you
this
did.
directness and this,
Mhm.
no fluff and this, like, we're moving forward and everyone's going with us. Like, get your stuff together
Yeah,
because let's go. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's so inspiring, like, if I my mentor is
Mm,
80 years old, and she didn't start coaching until she was
mm,
65. And I remember her telling me the story of her first
mhm,
coaching offer, and she had no website, and obviously there was no real social media then. Somebody asked
mm,
for her help. "Hey, could you do what you did for your husband? Could you do that for
mm,
my business?" And she said, "Absolutely. I could actually do
mm.
more for your business because you would listen to me more than my husband did."
Not the truth.
And he was like, "Okay, how much is it?" And she crossed her fingers in her pocket and said, "It's $1,000,000."
No.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
ballsy. I love it.
Yeah, but if you're gonna coach somebody who has a, $30,000,000
Right.
a year company and take them to $1,000,000,000,
It's
1,000,000
nothing.
is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it was just so like, to hear her tell the story and get to spend time with someone like that,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
guts and the just natural ability that she had of
Mhm.
meeting people and connecting with the right people, being in the right room,
Mm.
she knew she had to be that expensive or nobody would take her seriously.
So tell me, what do you know at, like, a gut level after being in this room you described last week where, it was 100
Mhm.
people that were all, like, loving the style that you are so good at? What did you know is, like, a pivot you have to make or a decision you have to make or like a path you have to take going
Hmm.
forward now?
Um, it was more that I don't have
Mm,
to change anything. And I think that can be as freeing as knowing what you have to
yeah.
change. Um, just knowing that I don't have to
Mm,
have a script and you know, a framework to follow for a workshop. I can do it here and it's so impactful. Yeah, it was more the permission of it that, "No, you know what? You're good." And the people who are meant to be served
mm,
in that way, line up.
mm. So good.
Don't worry about the ones who complain, because there's always gonna be people who don't like the way you deliver, or don't like something that you say, or don't like something that you offer, and it's
Mhm,
really not about them. It's about the
mhm.
ones who do.
I was working with a personal development coach recently, and she was saying, "Well, perhaps you feel so chaotic because your targets aren't aligned." And
Mm. Mhm.
I'm almost wondering if what you experienced last week was you've got your targets, like, lined up in front of you, and now you just eliminated a few, like, "Oh, wait, I don't have to solve for that, or charge after that.
Yep.
Like, how am I gonna
Yep.
totally, like, reinvent myself," kind of thing. You just eliminated, those targets, and now can go, like,
Mhm.
leapfrog and work on something
Yeah.
that you thought was further out because now you've just eliminated that work, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost, clear targets,
Mm,
are
mhm.
really important when it comes to goal setting. I'm a big numbers person. You want 5 clients. I know I have to talk
Sure.
to 7 people. Okay. So I know my numbers, but I think when it comes to delivery style, you know, hosting workshops, hosting events, and I do that all
Mm,
the time. But I think the clarity that comes in knowing I
yeah,
deliver a fire hose. Don't come
yep.
to a workshop thinking that I'm gonna spend 20, 30 minutes talking about myself. You wanna know about me, go to my
Read the
website.
bio. Yeah.
Read the bio.
We're gonna move
Right,
fast
read the
here.
bio.
That
Yeah.
I think I think that's a mistake people make when they're curating their experiences, their rooms, is they they think they
Mhm.
have to be everything to everyone, and that's actually why their
Mm.
rooms aren't filling, is because it's not clear who you're for and who you're not for. It seems like you just
Yeah.
unlocked a huge piece last week.
Well, yeah, sometimes I notice with a lot of my clients that they're following
Mm,
a script or somebody's webinar outline that says, for the first 20 minutes, you poke the pain and then you talk about yourself and how you solved it. And like
yes.
they're following this, and then they do that every single time they have an event. So God forbid you have somebody who comes to 2 of your workshops and they have to sit through that, and then you're hiding behind slides. Oh, no. Like, please don't make me
Mm,
do that. It's and I think that's a product that somebody sold, right? Is that webinar formula or
mhm,
the script. That's a product somebody created, which it works for some people. It's not gonna work for everybody, depending on your audience and you. I think you have to lean into that thing that makes you unique and your unique genius, and if it's not a script, well, most likely it isn't, but being comfortable with the fact that I don't have a script here, and I'm gonna trust that the right information is gonna come out with my
mm,
bullet points.
mhm. Kind of co-creating when people support what they create, and you're saying, like,
Yeah.
I'm you're really good at co-creating in real time with your audience.
Mhm. Yeah.
Tell me, you've had several successful exits, and
Mhm.
I'm wondering what's something looking back over the what is it, 30 plus years that you've been in business that you can say, like, from the very beginning, that was something I was so good at, and it's like your superpower, and it's still
Mm.
kind of following you along, and maybe you didn't realize it was there in the first one, or maybe even in the second one, but it's you're just darn good at that.
Building
Mm,
rapport with people, building that human connection, having the person I'm talking to or with, or even a
mhm,
group of people feel
mm,
seen, heard,
mhm.
and valued. And that came from my dental career, 110%.
Were you a dental hygienist before you built the business with your ex?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I went to college for.
So interesting. Because that was my
Mhm.
mother's profession, and yeah.
Really?
My grandfather is a dentist, and one of my
Uh-huh.
mom's sisters is also a dental hygienist. I just feel like it's
Oh,
kind of in
wow.
my family. Yeah.
It's in the
Yeah,
blood.
and I just went to the dentist on
Yeah,
Friday, and I got, like, 2 thumbs up, and just take pride in the fact that they always tell
that's
me
good.
I'm doing a great job brushing and flossing because I'm my mother's daughter, and I
Excellent.
wanna do a good job, and that's what she says to do.
Yep, that's right.
So, yeah, and I feel that. I feel like it's interesting being in the dental chair because it's such a one-sided
Mhm.
conversation.
Well, think about, I remember that's another room that changed, my life. I stretched at the beginning of my coaching career and paid for a Tony Robbins mastermind group. There's about 500 people in this
Is this
mastermind group,
before or after the divorce?
and the very
Okay, yeah.
after. And, it was the very beginning of my health coaching journey, so 2009-ish. And, in this room of 500 people, um, we're on Zoom no, we were on Skype, and we had to put what we did before we became a coach. And so this is 500 coaches in this
Mhm.
mastermind group, and, I type in dental hygienist, and it rolls up the chat, and Tony Robbins says, "Who is the dental hygienist?" And I was like, "Eek, he's gonna talk to me. Oh my god." And he said, "I want you to understand something." And he told me that this natural ability to go to a waiting room, call somebody's name who
Mm,
doesn't want to be there, who is
mm,
maybe fearful or has
mm,
anxiety about being there, and in the 1-minute walk back to your room, they get in a chair, lay down, and invite you into their
mm,
body. You have a skill of making people feel seen,
mm,
safe, and they
mm.
trust you. You will have no problem as a coach.
Wow.
Mhm.
I'm just thinking about all the dental hygienists I've worked with, and so many of them have that in common. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Wow.
it's a
Wow.
personality thing, you know?
Huh. Yeah. I I started laughing because after I got out of the chair on Thursday and walked to the front desk, I
Uh-huh.
asked the front desk lady, I said, "It," because I had a different dental hygienist, and than I usually do, and I said, "Well, what happened to that girl that was here?" Because I actually didn't really
Mhm,
care for the one that I had, and I didn't feel that warm and fuzzy, like, embrace,
mhm.
and I was missing the girl that had been there, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, she decided to leave dental hygiene and go to teaching." And I was like, "Oh, sad." No more of those delightful walks with that woman. Um,
That's
but
right.
wow, what an experience to have Tony say that to you. That was another moment
Yeah.
where did that feel like permission to keep going? Like, "Oh, wait, you do have some special skills
It
here?"
did. It did, and I think that program was
Mm,
$10,000, and that was a big
yeah.
stretch before I was making money as a coach, and that moment made it worth it. So, like, it's almost like that moment of, um, validation,
Mhm,
awareness that I naturally had an ability that I didn't
mm,
acknowledge it within myself. So, um, that kinda made me really passionate about helping other people acknowledge that unique genius, and it's more than your certifications. It's more than, what you do for a living. It's who you are as a person. Like, who were you before you started this business? And what have you been through
mm,
struggle-wise, trauma-wise, triumph-wise? Those are the things that actually go into making who you are as an entrepreneur. And I think without acknowledging them, there's opportunities that are missed. Um, Grief is a big thing. I've had a lot of grief in my life, a lot of loss. And those are qualities in me that I can be more empathetic and more compassionate with my clients. And it's no surprise to me that within the past month or so, I've had 4 clients lose a
oh,
parent or a
wow.
sibling. And now I think I have 27 clients right now. That's a lot in
Mhm,
27, to
yes.
have lost a parent or a sibling in a month-long period. But I feel so fortunate that I'm able to
Mm,
share with them and listen in such a compassionate,
yeah,
empathetic way, and it's only because I've had those experiences too, that I can be that person for my
wow.
clients.
Yeah, I think the universe did align that specifically.
Yeah, I
Wow.
think so too. I think so too.
That's a unique skill set. We need to come up with a different name
Mhm.
for it. The fire hose, the direct coaching, but
Yeah.
also the super compassionate flip side.
Hmm. I had a mentor a while ago who told me, uh, "I can hold your hand." What? Hold your heart and kick your ass? Yeah,
I've
yeah. So it's that braveness that's required, to be an
yes.
entrepreneur. But we do have to deeply know ourselves. And I could only ask my clients to do that if I
Mm,
was willing
mm.
to do it.
Say that again. You said, we have to deeply know ourselves. Is that what you said? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
I believe that so much. An episode that came out today,
Mm.
actually, on that topic, that I just never expected to find myself in the personal development aisle of Barnes& and Noble ever, and or, the self-help, I think is
Mm.
what it's called. And
Yeah.
I always knew that there was a shelf of books over there, but I definitely felt like that was
Mhm.
probably, like, weird woo-woo that wasn't for me, and it turns
Yeah.
out it is for me.
Yep.
It's for all of us, and I've been working with, a therapist every week this year, and that's been a game changer in that awareness
Yeah.
that you were talking about, that kind of acknowledgement of who we are and what we've been
Mhm.
through. It's been massively helpful, and I do think it's
Yeah.
setting me up to be more coachable, for sure, to be able to take on higher level coaches and be receptive to the coaching.
Yeah.
There's so much that we it
Yeah.
I yeah, I love that you said acknowledgement is huge, that it and there's so much that we don't realize that we went through that has set us up to be that allows us to be kind of superheroes in our niche, and there's so much
Yeah.
that happened for us that is also, like, a hindrance that we don't even know that we're
Oh, yeah. The
Mhm.
self-sabotage is I what my biggest thing was over money, of course. I've had times in my life where I had a lot. I've had times in my life where I've
Yeah.
had very little, but I was raised as a child to not ask for
Mm.
money because nice girls don't ask their grandparents
Mm.
for money.
Really?
Yeah, nice girls don't ask for money. And I thought, "God, I'm only 7.
Mm.
Why can't I ask for money?" Right? But that message was so loud when I first became a
Mm.
coach that I worked with everybody for free
Mm.
unless they unless they unless they volunteered the money.
Wow. Wow. That's super powerful. Yeah, it
And I had to realize that that was holding
Mhm.
me back, and it was through time in therapy, time in
Mhm.
personal development that, "Oh, that's the message I hear in my head when it comes time to sign up a client." It's, "Okay, you plan the schedule, they're gonna be your client, their first session is next
Mhm.
Tuesday," and then I would never say, "And how would you like to pay?" That went on for a year. And I finally had to say and look at myself and say, "Okay, why is this happening? I don't mean to do that, but it's just the
Mm.
default." And it's only because of self exploration and knowing yourself on a really deep level. "Oh, that came from this, and I can intentionally change that behavior."
Yeah, the identity piece. That was
Mhm.
something that came up just last week for me was really trying to dig into perfectionism. And my therapist
Mm.
said that, well, what if you decided that the perfectionism was a coping and survival tactic that you started to use when you were little in order to get through? And because that was what
Mm.
was required in order to be in that environment. And that because it's a survival and coping mechanism, you can decide that that's not your identity and proceed in a different
Yeah.
manner. It's like, wow, that's interesting
Yeah.
and super helpful. I I wonder the money mindset of why can't I ask for money? And that like nice girls don't ask for
Mhm.
money. In the first business, did you put your were you in a position where you were asking for money, or did you put yourself in all the other roles?
Yeah, but it was totally different. It was totally different
Mm,
because it was retail. People were getting something
yes.
for something.
It's tangible exchange, which feels very
Mhm.
natural, normal, like we're just like that's
Yes.
inherently in us. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was a
Mhm.
natural
Mhm.
exchange of energy. But when it
Mhm.
came to coaching, that meant I'm putting a dollar value on my knowledge and my time, and that just felt foreign to me without some really deep work on it.
What if you don't mind my asking, what do you think that you had to acknowledge in order to make the ask or make the ask for more?
Oh boy, there was so much there, but,
Mm,
self-worth, um, that there was value in the knowledge I had accumulated and put together, that there was value in spending time with me to reach your, health
mhm,
goals. And yeah, it was all about me. It was all about that acknowledging that I had value and worth and an experience set that other people were wanting and needing and that was worth something. I think that was a journey of, self-worth, self-love,
mm,
self-acceptance, no matter whether I was, you know, gonna get into another relationship or whether I was going to be a parent someday. Like, I had to do that work for everything, not just for being a coach and asking for money, but I needed to do that work to be a good partner, to be a good mom, um, to be a better
yeah,
human. And I'm thankful that coaching made me address that.
yeah. Is there anything that you do on a daily basis now that still primes you
Mm,
to continue to acknowledge the value and the worth and all the things so that you can continue to
there is.
ask for the money and make the sales? What is it?
Yes. Yes, and every day, my carpet here in my office has circles in it.
Yeah.
It's just in the design of the carpet, and I remembered this energy medicine activity called the Circle of Excellence, where you stand in a circle and you remember all of the knowledge and the things that you've experienced by physically putting them into the circle with you. And goes something like, I'm a product of all the books I've read, the courses I've taken, the mentorship I've received, the programs I've done, the people I've served, the conversations I've had. And as soon as I started to do that, just then, whole
Mm.
body goosebumps. And it's like a change in your cellular energy to remember how powerful you are. And that's the piece is the remembering is not a one-time
Mm.
thing. You have to do it over and over and over again till it becomes part of your cellular energy.
Wow. So you're just, like, reminding yourself on a daily basis of your identity and
Yeah.
what it am I also hearing what it took to get there?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, what it took, I mean, it was lots of all the books I've
Mhm.
read, all the courses I've taken, all the conversations I've had, all the people that I've coached, the courses I've paid for, the courses I took for free, that like, there's so much that goes into that, um, and every day is a little different, but the idea is the same, is that remembering, who you are and what you've done to get yourself to today. And especially if you're helping other people, um, it's important to remember that, even some of the bad things, you know?
So, would you almost call it an arrival ritual into your day?
Mm. I would call it
A
like a
priming
priming.
exercise?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely, um, it's a very distinct time in the day, first thing in the morning, grab a cup of coffee, walk into my office. I stand by the window and look outside. It's typically first light of day, and I say a little prayer and I remember who I am. and what I'm here to do.
Mm. I'm such a practical person that the question that's coming to my mind is, do you read something? I've heard of, like, Donald Miller
No.
has, like a binder with his eulogy and his 1 and 5 and 10-year
Mhm.
plan, and he reads them as a way to remember who he is and where he's
Mm.
going. And
I love that
I
too.
I tried writing it, for a while, but then I found it was
Mhm.
the the person in me who has the piece of me that's, constantly in scarcity was like, "Oh, that's taking too much time, and I'm wasting it on the
Mm.
writing." So I've gotten to reading, as well, kind of my own kind of put together acknowledgement of where I'm going, but I don't do this piece of where I've come and who I am and who I've served, and I'm loving that.
Well, what I like about it is the
Mm,
energy aspect of it. Um, and I learned the most about energy medicine from Donna Eden Energy Medicine. And, you know, part of the vibe raising thing of it is energetically bringing the stuff to you. So if you imagine standing in a circle and you're physically saying, I'm all the books I've read, the knowledge I've received, like you're actually bringing those things to you. And for me, I think that's part of it. And I'm not a super woo woo person, but I do believe in
mhm.
law of attraction and bringing
Yes.
things to you. And I know when I do that, and I know when I'm attuned to that energy,
Mm,
I'm unstoppable. When I doubt it, when I skip it, mm, I notice a difference. And to me, energy is
mm.
everything.
Oh, I love that so much.
Nice. Glad I got to
That's
share it with
magical.
you.
I I wonder, before we wrap up, I'm wondering what you're reading right now. Mhm.
What I'm reading, I am reading a book called Arate by Brian Johnson. Um, it's I did a coaching program, a life coaching program with Brian about 4 or 5 years ago, called Optimize. And I did it for me, didn't do it for my coaching practice. And it was really ancient wisdom,
Mhm.
modern tools, and science, and a lot of Stoic philosophy, which I love, and a great cohort of people. Again, all eating, moving, sleeping, meditating, eating properly, exercising every day, 500 people in this program, and it was just great energy to be around. And he wrote a book which is basically the coaching program in really short little chapters, like one
Wow.
page chapters. And I love it. Um, so of course I bought it when it was released about a month ago. So I'm reading that upstairs. Uh, Downstairs right now is I have to look. It is I am rereading Convince Them in 90 Seconds, and I had to look at the author Nicholas Boothman. It is basically a body language, energy, way to captivate
Mm.
an audience and a way to read other people. And, reading energy and, kind of commanding
Yes.
the room with your energy. And I as soon as I heard about the book, it's an older book. It's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna have to read that." So that's my downstairs reading. I'm typically reading 2 books at a time, one at night before bed that has no
Oh,
business relation. Like, if I read business before
okay.
bed, I can't sleep. So, typically read something for myself at night before bed.
So I always thought I only was allowed to read one thing at a time, and that's what I did. But
Mm.
I'm reflecting on how you described your reading right now. And I don't have an
Mhm.
upstairs and a downstairs book. I'm walking the dog book, so something I'm listening to on Audible.
Oh, okay.
And
Mhm.
right now that's How to Do the Work by Nicole LaPera, I think. Okay. And
Oh,
then
yes.
I have a new routine as of September. I go do the dry sauna and the cold plunge. And you can't do the
Love
phones
it.
in the sauna. It's not good for the phone.
Right.
So I have a sauna book, and it's paper, and it's like the first time in years that I've been reading a paper book, and it feels like a huge
That's
accomplishment
amazing.
move through a paper book.
Mhm.
And that one actually is I'm finishing this week, Michael Hyatt's Your World Class
Oh,
Assistant. And then I didn't realize I do.
what
Oh,
is
it's
that
just
one
about
about?
hiring, training, and leveraging an executive assistant. hmm
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then I love systems and organization and process, and I'm
Mhm.
working with a couple clients on optimization of their assistants so that they can do a better
Amazing.
job with systems and scaling. And then I didn't realize I do this, but on my nightstand, I have my book before bed is always a cookbook. I love reading
Oh,
cookbooks.
do you dream
I
about
I
food?
must. I just it's Food is my favorite thing. I just love it. Well, events are my favorite, and then food, or events and then flowers and then
Uh-huh.
food. I don't know, those three things. But isn't it interesting? They all go together too. Uh,
Amazing.
so a cookbook.
Yeah.
But we must have heard about that, How to Convince Them in 90 Seconds, in that same event that we were in recently, because I got that from the library.
Mhm.
It turns out it's not on Audible. And so it's now sitting in my bedroom as the next,
Nice.
it's like, well, it's second in line after I finish my current sauna book. So I'm excited about that.
Nice.
All right,
Nice.
Suzanne, this has been amazing. I wonder, what have you got going on right now that we should know about, and where can Lynchpin Nation find you? Okay.
SuzanneTaylorKing.com for all the good stuff. I have an incredible podcast that just relaunched my live
Yay.
stream series. I'm about 8 episodes in. I have a great episode with Bob Berg, the Go
Ooh.
Giver author, and another episode with Ethan Butte, who wrote a book called Human Centered Communication. Awesome episode. My most recent guest is a rebranding
Wow.
expert who rebrands business, reinvents branding for businesses. Really great conversation. So that's one way. And then I have a community of entrepreneurs, business owners, service providers, and I have made the big hairy goal of taking them off social media and into their own platform, so that I can provide even more value, events, courses,
Yeah.
swipe files, and just I have over 60 courses I've created in the last 15 years, and only 4 or 5 of them were available for sale. And I just thought, it's time. It's time to get them all in one
Yes.
place, and I'm ready to be off social media even
That's
more.
exciting.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I'm going to link all that up in the show notes. I'm grateful
Awesome.
for the conversation and your time today, and wish you an absolutely
Thank you.
outstanding holiday season. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for listening to the Green Room Central podcast. If you loved this episode, then please take a screenshot on your phone and post it to Instagram, and be sure to tag @SarahPfeiffer and let me know why you liked it and what you'd like to hear, or who you'd like to hear from in the future. That'll help me know what to create for you. Also, if scaling events in your business sounds like something you want to tackle this year and you need a coach, let's connect to see if one-on-one coaching is for you. Just go to greenroomcentral.com. You and I can work together one-on-one throughout the course of the year and dive deep into the inner workings of your events and business. You'll receive mentorship, personalized feedback, and customized guidance to define your goals and achieve your next level of success. Just go to greenroomcentral.com right now to apply. I appreciate your commitment to leveling up and learning the mindset and strategy of live events. Keep going. Keep learning. If you want more, head over to greenroomcentral.com for show notes and all the links from today's episode.